I have put so much into the show that hasn't allowed us to talk about college football because the chaos has arrived. No, we're dying to talk about everything that happened yesterday, Stugotz, because it was just the perfect spectacle. Like, I really do think that in the future, if they could have kept it together, but just have like all 6 of the teams pick one representative that argues in front of America why their team should be in and turn that into the pregame show.
Perhaps Herschel Walker.
That would be a great
Where is he?
Game show. So everyone's
I
mad
believed in him.
in a scenario where it's inevitable, Stugotz, because it's not about measuring the best. It's a concoction. It's the last 4, but it's not about measuring the best. It is about make a television show. And make the argument around why the television show measures who and who isn't best, but let's just get the ratings. Let's just make sure that we get everybody. It's a made-for-television spectacle. It is not pure.
I would actually like to applaud the committee. I don't care what it is. It was entertaining, and I think we got the Final Four that we wanted. We got the best 4 teams, or the best or the most entertaining teams in the country, Dan.
The best for television.
So I want to applaud the committee because for years we have been railing against, the last 2 undefeated teams, they play each other in a national championship. You know what the committee said? Not this year. That team, while undefeated, while in a Power 5, while winning 2 or 3 road games and, conference championship games with their backup quarterback and their third-string quarterback, they're not good enough. These teams are better, and I applaud them because I do believe the 4 teams they put in are better than Florida State.
Also best for television and can be both.
I don't know if that's true, Stugotz, if they are. It depends how you rate these things, and I think their argument was that Florida State without Jordan Travis is a different team than Florida State with Jordan Travis, and that was their excuse for letting them go. I don't really think it came down to ACC being a second-tier league or whatever, although I think that they're never going to leave out an SEC team. There was never going to be a playoff without at least one SEC team. I could even have seen them putting in Georgia and Alabama, and I was
But is it
stunned.
because of the strength of the conference, or is it because those are obviously, if it's Alabama, Georgia, you've got Georgia getting unceremoniously dropped after the run they just had? That's offensive what just happened with Georgia.
It should be noted for Georgia, 29-game win streak, back-to-back reigning, defending national champions.
Lost by 3.
They lose by 3.
But those seasons don't carry over, Mike.
I mean, I understand, but there's something to be said for
But then how does Alabama get in then? That's the whole.
Hold on. I'm
Georgia.
gonna just totally take you apart right now because you say they have the best 4 teams in there. Do you think really that if we're putting the 4 best teams in there, Georgia's not one of the 4 best teams?
No, I don't.
Well, that's convenient.
I don't.
But I think anybody would say Georgia's one of the best 4 teams in the nation.
Except a committee of people whose job it is to decide this. They said no.
It's just awfully convenient to apply the logic towards Alabama. They're one of the 4 best teams in the nation. That's what this college football playoffs is about.
It's one of the worst Bama teams in a decade.
I mean, if you're going to apply that logic, then Georgia should be there too. It was a hard decision. One school, multiple schools were going to be pissed off by it. There's really no great answer to it, but generally I think most people are like Stugotz, happy that they get to see Alabama instead of a third-string quarterback.
I want to stay here a little bit, so we're going to do more of this next because I know Chris Cody wants to get in here. I can't wait to hear what Chris Cody has to say. He rooted for this. Stugotz, I don't believe that you really can draw up a better scripted ending than bodies crashing into each other, at violent speeds. Everyone's injured. We're 3/4 of the way through the football season. Nobody's healthy. Everybody's physically broken. They're all trying to get to the stage where the 4 stages in the minor leagues of football, the 4 stages that there are to be the better team. And everybody who is watching what was happening this weekend prefers, I feel like, the argument to everything that happened Sunday. Everything that happened, that the argument is better, that what we want at the end of the broken bodies is committees and arguments and let's say my team was better, even though all these bodies just broke, and FSU's season, hey, we're not going to reward them even though they did the hardest possible thing. 2 teams outside the conference in the SEC, they beat Florida. Are you kidding me that team goes undefeated and you keep out a team with history because it's not as big a market, because you can make the argument. The thing that's great about the drape is you can just say, well, their quarterback's hurt. They're not the best. But, man, this is supposed to be about merit. It's not supposed to be about made for television.
No, it's about the best 4 teams in the country,
Stugotz,
according to this committee.
Besides Georgia.
2 quarterbacks for FSU got ground to hamburger. 2 of them.
Right.
Stugotz, you don't want the playoff to expand because you want the regular season to matter.
Yes.
Well, the regular season doesn't really seem to matter much to Florida State. It doesn't, because they did everything.
No.
This will be the first time. Think about all the changes to the postseason
Right.
that we have incurred over the last 20 years. Because why? Miami got screwed in 2000? Okay, what's the next most memorable thing? You had an undefeated Auburn team in 2004 that did not have an opportunity to play for a national title. So we changed everything to make sure that a Power 5 undefeated conference champion has the opportunity to play for a national title. And in the final year of the 4-team playoff format, you have an undefeated Power 5 that's done everything from a scheduling perspective
With
that you
2 injured
want to do.
quarterbacks. With 2 injured quarterbacks.
That's fine.
Right.
But you have an undefeated Power 5 team not having the opportunity to play for a national title. That seems kind of bogus.
I think the criteria is not, you have to be an undefeated Power 5 champion in the SEC or in a league that the committee respects that season. I think it has to, like, what has changed, and maybe it hasn't even changed, maybe we just haven't had to experience it to this degree before, is you have to be an undefeated Power 5 champion and your quarterback can't have a season-ending injury that late in the season. I think that was my biggest takeaway. That was their argument. I disagree because I think as much as their offense was difficult to watch the last 2 weeks, their backup would have been back for the playoff game because he was out with a concussion during the ACC championship, and their defense won them those 2 games. Their Florida State's defense played incredibly the last 2 weeks, and that didn't matter to the committee because the committee just saw a undefeated Florida State team whose makeup of their DNA of their team changed to the committee when Jordan Travis got hurt. And so I wonder if the situation changes if we're watching Washington win the Pac-12, but Michael Penix gets a season-ending injury 2 weeks. I wonder if the Pac-12 misses out, even though they had a spectacular season with tons of competitive games. So I don't know if this is an ACC problem or if this is just them saying, like, we value the SEC above everything else. We are not going to leave any SEC teams out. Like, we're not going to have an SEC list football playoff, and also your quarterback got hurt.
Just to me, the main difference is Alabama got the path that they've seemingly gotten a ton of these football playoff years, where they have 1 loss, maybe 2, but they've never had all the other Power 5 conferences do their job. Washington did their job. By the way, for everyone arguing, well, they'd be a huge underdog in the playoff against so-and-so, Washington just pulled off a straight-up upset as a 9.5-point dog. They've never had the other conferences do what they've needed to do before. But, Dan, we haven't seen Louisville look like that all season long. It's a top 20 offense.
Stugotz, I hear a lot of people saying the ACC is not any good, and I'm like, you were not watching Louisville's offense all year. They were.
Correct.
I came in one day and told Mike, one of their backup running backs, that's a pro. Like, they've got a pro in their backfield. Louisville wasn't. Nobody did that. FSU's defense is good. I didn't expect them to do it, and they did it with their 3rd-string quarterback. Now, you can make the argument, if you want to make sports about just the arguments, that they are a fraud. But I can make the argument they might be Cardale Jones and Ohio State because they've got athletes that can run with these other athletes at Texas and Alabama. That the team I saw from FSU from the beginning of the season, when we were talking about this stuff, was like, hey, that team's got as many athletes as Texas has the bigger receivers than Miami. That team's more athletic than most of the teams they're playing against.
Cardale Jones did not look scared when he was out there. These look like little kids. They look like they're 18 years old. Cardale Jones did not look like that.
I'll swing it over to Jess. Cardale Jones and Ohio State put up 55 points in their conference championship game. However, they didn't play a good team because that side of the conference has always dominated the other side, Jess.
Right. I think the committee wanted to see what Florida State could do the 2 weeks on offense without Jordan Travis, and they clearly weren't impressed. And just to be clear, I do not agree with their decision. I am only trying to justify it to kind of explain to people why I think they came to this conclusion. I think that it's pretty unconscionable to leave Florida State out of the playoff in this situation. I truly, I feel terrible for the Florida State players. I feel terrible for Jordan Travis. His tweet, which, oh my God, he
Can't stand
clearly,
the fans.
okay.
Put that tweet.
Let's throw up the tweet.
Put the tweet up on the
I
screen.
agree with everything that Jess says, and I can also admit that if I could pick any fan base for this to happen
it's
to,
fantastic.
this is just about the funniest one. But yeah, here's Jordan Travis's tweet: devastated, heartbroken, in so much disbelief right now. I wish my leg broke earlier in the season.
That's just
It's
such
just
a
an
great
insane thing to
sentence.
say. It's just crazy. But I think like what we watched on Saturday was Alabama upset a team with a 29-game win streak, Georgia, the number 1 team in the country, and the committee said, we are not going to punish them for losing earlier in the season against Texas because they rate Texas very highly. Texas is one of the 4 teams in the playoffs. So we're going to put Alabama in just because they have now the best win of the season over Georgia. And I don't think that in any other year that's bad logic. I think that just because this year you had multiple undefeated teams, this is how it shook out. They had to make a tough choice finally. And I think if they're going to leave out an undefeated power champion, it should be the one that was cheating for the last 3 years.
Well, there's that. We haven't even gotten to that, which makes this so great for television.
What happened to Chris's thoughts?
We'll get to them in just a second. Poor Chris got boxed out. Everyone's got a lot to say. How about Tony? Tony hasn't been able to get in at all because poor Tony wants to talk about how bananas it was, but has no shots because everyone's got too many takes
Tony's
today.
so backed up with takes that his nose just started bleeding.
Chris also just admitted he didn't watch Louisville play this season, which I feel like disqualifies him from the conversation.
Tony's waiting, dying to talk Will Levis.
Oh, God.
Recovering 2 fumbles.
Oh, boy.